When water pools on an aging flat surface, commercial owners in Long Beach naturally start looking for a quick replacement or a fresh coat of sealant. It seems like a basic waterproofing decision. You have a leak, you patch it or pave over it. But the state of California treats that physical repair as a strict energy efficiency mandate under Title 24, Part 6. Look at this table outlining the myth. An owner expects a quick recoat with no permit delays. The 2025 Energy Code dictates a regulated alteration, complete with cool roof mandates and extensive envelope compliance forms. Moving forward as if you are doing routine maintenance leads directly to stalled city permits, orders placed for the wrong materials, and sudden budget spikes when the city inspector asks for your CRRC ratings. A commercial roofing project in Long Beach has to be evaluated as a regulatory compliance event first. Construction strategies and material choices must follow the code, not the other way around. The code activates based on a specific math formula. As this diagram shows, the primary trigger for a roof alteration is affecting 50% of the roof area, or 2,000 square feet. The critical detail here is that whichever of those two thresholds is smaller is the one that forces compliance. If you own a massive warehouse, a relatively modest patching or recoating project will cross that 2,000 square foot mark. You trigger the mandate without coming anywhere near half the total roof. Once you cross that line, your materials must adhere to the Cool Roof Rating Council standards. You have to meet specific rated targets for solar reflectance and thermal emittance. Many owners assume that because they aren't tearing up the base deck, because they are just doing a partial recover or recoating, they are exempt from the Energy Code. That is entirely false. Failing to calculate this alteration trigger during pre-construction leaves your budget completely exposed. You price out a patch, but you are legally required to build a compliant energy envelope. Title 24 is a decision tree. Once triggered, requirements branch by climate zone, roof slope, and space conditioning. Long Beach presents a trap. Your address dictates climate zone 6 or 8. Guessing your zone means estimating the wrong membrane or missing the target entirely. Next is the roof's geometry. The code clearly defines a low-slope roof as having a pitch of less than 2 in 12. Anything 2 in 12 or greater is steep slope. The exact prescriptive values and compliance paths you must follow shift aggressively depending on which of those two slope categories your roof belongs to. This creates friction for mixed-use properties. If a building has multiple roof geometries, each separate portion has to meet the specific rules for its slope. One address does not equal one simplified rule. Precise address verification and physical slope measurements are mandatory first steps. Skipping them guarantees permit rejections and forces you to redesign the project midstream. The dividing line is underneath the roof. Here, an HVAC system cooling an office, while a passively ventilated warehouse sits next door. Altering a roof over an unconditioned warehouse relieves you from strict cool roof mandates. But replacing a roof over a conditioned office triggers maximum regulatory scrutiny. Industrial property managers run into trouble when they apply a single blanket roofing assumption across a mixed-use complex. They end up buying premium energy upgrades for unconditioned zones that do not legally require them. Roof design follows the interior reality. You scope the project based on whether the space is conditioned, rather than just calculating the exterior square footage. Sometimes a roof is beyond patching. Tearing a failing system completely off down to the existing metal deck gives you a clean slate, but it comes with a severe code consequence. The moment you expose that roof deck, you trigger prescriptive insulation mandates. The climate zone dictates exactly how much thermal resistance you have to add back in. The law forces you to stack thick, rigid insulation onto the deck, drastically raising the roofline and swallowing existing HVAC curves. This massive budget shock requires rooftop units to be disconnected, lifted, and reset. Suddenly, curb extensions and raised flashings drive your project's entire cost. Accepting these heavy upfront costs gives you a highly efficient, long-lasting envelope, but it completely changes the amount of capital required to start the work. The true price tag of a full roof replacement is dictated by your existing rooftop equipment and curb geometry, not just the cost per square foot of the waterproofing membrane. Every property owner eventually has to weigh the financial return of a full replacement against an energy-compliant coating. A coating makes financial sense under very specific conditions. The existing assembly must be dry, it must be structurally stable, and the fluid applied product has to strictly meet those CRRC reflectance ratings. A coating is a wasted investment if the roof suffers from widespread moisture intrusion, chronically failing seams, or trapped water. No matter how compliant the coating is on paper, it cannot fix a rotting substrate. Applying a compliant coating over a failed deck guarantees that you will have to tear the whole system off anyway. You end up paying for the restoration, failing inspection later, and paying for the full replacement. To find the true return on investment for your property, you have to evaluate the physical condition of the roof side by side with the code compliance demands. To get through Long Beach permitting under the 2025 Energy Code, you need a readiness checklist like this one. You need to map the climate zone, calculate the threshold, evaluate the deck, and prepare your exact envelope compliance forms. Your entire documentation package, the product submittals, the CRRC data, and the state forms must be fully aligned and approved before a single bucket of material is ordered. A successful commercial roofing project matches the physical reality of the building to the required code path long before a product is pitched or a contract is signed. Before you finalize any scope of work, book a Title 24 compliance review with Commercial Roofing Long Beach. Base your project on exact measurements and permit readiness, rather than expensive assumptions.